What up, world? This is the GoalNet, recording live from GoalNet Studios here just outside of Chicago. Today's long-term review is on the CCM Premier 2 glove and blocker. Hopefully you checked out my other video already reviewing the pads. Please note that both of these are a long-term review. I did an initial impressions review in written form on thegoalnet.com. And based off some recent Instagram feedback where we did a user poll, gonna switch over to the video reviews full time for a while, as people seem to favor these over the classic written form that I would traditionally do. So if we take a look at both of these gloves, the blocker is completely stock, and the gloves I made a couple minor modifications on, but nothing too crazy. And that's one of the upsides with CCM, is it's almost like ordering a pizza right now, where they have a kind of a defined menu and you can pick between your different options and configure gear exactly the way that you want it. You may not have the option of completely custom graphics or off-board specifications, but they can do nearly anything that you want. And because it's all catalog, there's no upcharges. You just need to order custom versus waiting for a retail order. So if we take a look at the glove here, the first thing I noticed during the unboxing is the quality around the stitching and the way the glove looks with all of the bindingless design. It is super clean. And for anybody out there wondering about the quality of offshore gear, the gear that I made, ordered or got sent rather for my demo set here is offshore gear. So the same stuff you get at retail. This is not the Canadian made set. And anytime you see the embroidered logo like that, you know that it's made offshore. The Canadian version has the patches. But if we take a look here, I mean, you can just see how great, the stitching, the quality control is on this glove. So if we take a look at custom specs, like I mentioned from the CCM customizer, went with a 1-inch deeper pocket, skate lace instead of the traditional nylon webbing, and a single T. And the leather strap also. So for anybody wondering why I went with a single T, because the double T is all the rage right now, is that I find that when the puck hits the single T, you get a much better snap and a crisp feeling, and I kind of like that tactile response. And with a skate lace pocket and +1 on the depth, I find that it opens just as big and is just as soft as a double T, and I don't feel like I'm sacrificing, stopping any pucks. I'm not letting in any goals because I have a single T, so I really favor this setup. I went with the Game Ready brake. And as you can see, the glove closes great. The only thing I've done to get the glove to break into this point that well is that I alternate every skate between putting a stretcher in, which is gonna open the glove up like that, and then tying it up with the elastic hot glove strap. And in terms of the glove, I did go with Game Ready. I went with Game Ready because after doing some research, I found out that nearly every pro using CCM gear is using Game Ready for their game gloves, and the majority of my ice time is games, so I felt like I didn't really need a practice palm or a pro palm just doing games. But with this here, I also have the D30, so I like that it's a really nice hybrid if you've got a little bit something extra in the pocket, but you still get that great snap shut. And I'm safe to say I've gotten absolutely no stingers with this glove in about 9 months of use, and that's estimated average of 1 ice time session a month. So I have absolutely no complaints about that. And again, just showing the closure, because that's always the number one thing I think people are curious about with a glove. And as you can see, closes great and still has that beefed up palm. That's one of the things that I really like about the CCM glove, is it's just got a really sturdy tank-like feel to it. There may be gloves that have a little bit better closure out of the box, but I know you always kind of wonder, how good are those gloves going to hold up long term? How good is the palm padding? And this is a really nice balance between safety and closure. So there are features on this glove is it is the 590 brake, and there's the tag with D30. 590 stock for this. You also have the option of getting 600 or 580. I'm not a fan of a 600 style brake. I've used 590s and 580s a lot on and off over the last 10 years. So a really easy glove transition for me. To be honest, I don't have a single negative thing to say about this glove. I mean, it's extremely comfortable in the hand. It closes really well. As I mentioned earlier, no concerns at all with the durability. The white and gold is speed skin. The red is the weave material. And this is just held up really well so far. You can see it looks like I got one good puck there, maybe in an RVH or something like that. And if you're wondering kind of what's new with this glove versus older P2s, or excuse me, older Premier models, is they moved the wrist strap. So if we take a look at my leather strap option, and we'll touch on that next, it actually sits higher on your wrist. So glove close, the previous style may have been down like that, and it sits a little bit higher up on your wrist. And that's so if you're doing like a bent wrist kind of glove up style closure, you have a lot more range of motion in that position, and it's really comfortable. So again, I honestly don't have a single negative thing to say about this glove, and that's probably why it's somewhat the industry standard. And I believe the 590 style break is the best selling glove and CCM's most popular within the pro ranks. And lastly, if we look at the leather strap, this has been great. I strongly recommend anybody ordering custom takes a look at this option. The reason I went with this is because I always find like the nylon straps need to be adjusted during games, pull them tighter. They loosen up over time. This is pretty much set it and forget it. Lace it just like a traditional glove pad, and it's fine for the rest of the game. The one and only downside is hypothetically if you need to rip your glove off and adjust your pads or something during a game, it is one extra step to get there, but the pros vastly outweigh the cons with this. And again, no real complaints with this glove. Strongly recommended to anybody looking at a new glove to check out the P2, whether it's just an individual glove purchase or to match the rest of the set. All right, so now let's move on to the blocker. So blocker's completely stock. So that means that we have the new bindingless sidewall design, the angled finger protection, the D3O in the finger, the Sure Grip palm, the Velcro open style cuff, and the bindingless design. And as I mentioned with my glove, I mean, you'd be amazed to find a stitch out of place. The no binding on this just looks very clean, very high end, very professional. So absolutely impressed with the fit and finish of this blocker. Biggest upside I think for CCM blockers is the sidewall protection. I think that's probably one of CCM's best features in their blockers. And hopefully that echo is coming through on the phone, but I mean, they are just rock solid. And then you've got some great thumb padding there. And as you can see with the white, I've taken my fair share of pucks. You know, you go down in a butterfly through a screen or whatnot, hits the sidewall. So protection is A+, and by far and away the best part about this blocker. Weight's pretty good on it. You know, no complaints there. And the palm sizing is really good as well. No giant oversized palm. You know, nothing too small, too big. Good flexibility, good protection, so no real complaints there. I think the toughest thing for me in reviewing this blocker is that I am extremely picky about my blockers. And if you read the written initial impressions review, you'll notice that, you know, I was pointing out some nuances about picking sticks up, picking water bottles up. And there were times that I just felt that the protection was almost overkill for me and got in my way, but that's not to say it's a bad design or that it's not the right level of protection. I'm the first person that would call out a product if it was bad or comment on it. And as I mentioned, this might not be the right level of protection or the right design for me, but it's absolutely not a bad design. And one of the things that's changed since I did my initial impressions review is this angled wedge here, as you can see, is loosened up just a little bit. And that's made a world of difference for me for picking up sticks, you know, grabbing the water bottle real quick between whistles. I hate taking my blocker off. And it might sound silly, but it just kind of creature comfort. You know, you're in your rhythm between whistles and stuff like that. And it just keeps everything how I like it. And that's very important to me, as silly as that might sound. I do think I'd be very curious to try the CCM blocker though with the straight protection there, as that might be a good hybrid for me where it's got a little bit extra protection than some of the other models on the market. But again, this is A+ protection. As you can see, if you can imagine your stick, there's no way you're getting a ramp up. But for me, I felt maybe it was a tad overkill. And then secondarily is the new open cuff with the Velcro, the one-piece cuff. And as you can see, you know, I think stock, it comes somewhere around there. I open this thing way up like that when I use it, just because my personal preference is to have the glove very tight around the wrist, and then above the wrist, I want the complete best range of motion. So the upside is that you're able to get that with this blocker, and it's just a quick adjustment of the wrist. But I do think when I've got it this open, and I do believe it was probably designed to be a little bit worn tighter, so you get a little bit more connected feel with the glove. I would be curious to try a P2 with the more classic CCM design that's got the two-piece cuff here. But again, it's not a negative. And if it sounds nitpicky, I am picky about my blockers. And the point I'm trying to make is that pretty much every other piece in this set for me is a home run. It's an A, I'd wear it any day of the week. I'd say the blocker's a B, like it's absolutely a good piece of equipment. And this just comes down to personal preference, where if I had to do it over again, or if I had the opportunity to compare them side by side, I'd be very curious to try those different options, and that might transform the blocker from a B to me to an A. But let's be realistic, this is not a C, it's not an F or anything like that. And most of my concerns are just around kind of a feel and a comfort thing. But that's the A+ number one reason to use this blocker is the sidewall and the wrist protection are phenomenal. The weighting, the balance is good, and the quality is there. So overall, they're not complaints, it's just a preference issue. Same thing as if I ordered a set of really soft pads. I've come to realize I like really stiff pads. Doesn't mean they're bad pads, it just maybe isn't the perfect product for me, but it might be, a home run design for you. So if you want probably the most protective blocker on the market, this is absolutely it for you. And again, new features versus old Premier models are the piece there and the new cuff and the nice bindingless design here, which I do love how clean that blocker sidewall looks. So in summary, glove is a monster, absolutely no complaints from there. The blocker is a very solid blocker, but maybe not the exact kind of preference I would order with the customizer. But it's by no means thrown out of my bag. I use this thing all the time. And again, it's kind of a like for me and not a love, but overall it's a great blocker. And I think if I went through the customizer again, I would be able to get a blocker that I love. So if you have any questions, please head over to thegolnet.com and we'll get those answered there. And if you didn't already check out the review on the P2 leg pads, please check that out as well. Until next time.